Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined by the rest of our panel, Vic, Brian, and Lynette. How's it going, everyone?
Hey.
Hello.
In today's episode, we join up with the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department's second Special Vehicles section and help reel in the errant laborers as we take on Patlabor, the movie. Patlabor, the movie is a 1989 Japanese animated science fiction film directed by Mamoru Oshii and written by Kazunori Ito. It was produced by Bandai Visual. I had to space this out so I could pronounce it right. Toho Kushinsha, which I still probably mispronounced.
No, try it 5 times fast.
I'm good. And animated by IG Tatsunoko. The film was released in the West by Manga Entertainment in 1995. The film is set in 1999 and follows Asuma and Noah, two officers in the TMPD's mechanized SVS unit, as they investigate a spree of rampaging construction robots.
Can I just say this is just another one of the 1999 or
Oh, yeah.
that we have failed to come to fruition?
Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely
Another time
somewhere
where we
that-
hit the date and
Yeah,
we're not even remotely close.
came and went. You know,
Why are we setting this up for failure?
they set the bar too low. This came out in 89, and they thought by 99 we'd have mechanized police units. I mean, I'm just saying. So,
Hey, if you noticed, like in the middle of the 90s, they started using 20XX as a year.
that's the way they
That's
have
why.
to do it, man. That's the way.
I don't know what this says about our version of humanity as opposed to
The mid 80s to late 90s was like rapid development in tech. So
Yep.
I guess they were just hopeful.
I'm saying that we are all the better for it because a militarized police force is never a good thing. I'm just saying.
Look,
Well,
And these motherfuckers
is-
got tank guns as revolvers. So,
I'll take the high school kid who accidentally got the military grade weaponry over a trained professional, because at least there we can talk some sense into that person.
Patlabor is a portmanteau of patrol and labor. It's a popular franchise that includes a manga, a TV series, 2 OVAs, 3 feature-length movies, a light novel series, a short film compilation. It's
a
huge.
partridge in a pear tree.
Thank you, Brian. The series has been adapted into video games, licensed products, soundtracks, toys, model kits. It's a big deal. It's known for using its mecha, designed by Yutaka Izubuchi, and not just for police or military purposes, but also that they have an industrialized, mechanized workforce. So instead of getting your forklift operator's license, you get like a labor operator's license, and you can pilot one of these construction things.
Which let's admit, that sounds like fun.
Oh,
It does.
I'm certainly not saying no to that. So this is an interesting series in that it's one of the few forms of media that it's runs multiple different forms simultaneously. So with Patlabor, like the manga and the anime were both in production at the same time, independently of each other. So everything came out all around the same time. None of it was related to each other, which was kind of an interesting sort of thing.
Wow.
So it is. All right. You know how you watch like Naruto, right?
Yeah.
And then you see the movies that come out there. Some of them are canon, some of them are not. Are we saying that everything that was released for this one, what's the and not the canon rate?
It depends. So it's more like Gundam, right? Like Gundam, there's the UC timeline, and then like there's the other timelines, and you kind of just like watch them and enjoy them for what they are, not for how they interconnect. What I can tell you is that the Patlabor Early Days OVA or Patlabor Mobile Police is the prequel series to this film we watched. Patlabor the movie, and Patlabor the movie 2 continues on with this particular timeline.
So basically, they went Star Trek on them. You had the Star Trek the original series.
Yep.
Then you have the motion picture.
Yeah.
Then you have that. Then you have
like the Kelvin universe and
Yeah. They have the comics, which are like the Kelvin universe kind of thing, and then they have like a whole other movie and TV series, which is an alternate thing, starring the same characters, different stories, different timelines. So it's kind of one of those confusing things. If you're trying to get into the fandom at this day and age, you might get a little lost. So, do your research, I guess, is the best piece of advice I can give you. For us in the States, it was this much harder because in an interesting turn of events, Manga Entertainment released Patlabor the movie in 1995 as part of their like manga entertainment sizzle reel thing, right? It was like a big deal. Everybody was like, ooh.
this one they used again KMFDM's Juke Joint Decibel.
But and this is when we were supposed to be looking out for MD Geist. And MD Geist was supposed to...
So
and we saw how wonderful that one was.
Now what's sad about it is that this came out in 95, Patlabor the movie, but then the TV series that precedes it, Patlabor the early days, or Mobile Police Patlabor, which animation timeline wise did get animated and released before the movie, didn't come out here in the States until 1998. So we got to see the Manga Entertainment movie release before we ever got to see the TV series that preceded it. So for 2 to 3 years, we had just the movie with no idea who any of these motherfuckers are. Because I'm going to be honest with you, not going to bury the lead. There's not a lot of character development in this movie. So you don't know who the fuck these people are. And you have very little to be invested in them other than the fact that they're mobile police force.
No, it's the short end of the stick a lot.
Yeah, very much so. Yet is like on the poster for this is like advertised as like the main character, who arguably side character. This is Lewis to Murphy. It's like you're the partner. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It was an interesting way that happened with the licensing here in the States. Had any of you ever seen Patlabor the movie before we sat down for this viewing?
Yes.
No.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I have a very serious problem with authority, so I don't really like cop movies or cop shows or things that have to do with policing in any capacity. So I just was never interested in it. So I never picked it up. It was kind of a struggle for me to get through this time. Not gonna lie.
Okay.
So,
Here we go. We're off to the races.
I have very strong issues with authority and policing and militarization of the police force. So when I see cops with tanks and shit, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I had a harder time with this than I would care to admit. But I
had a harder time. I had a harder time with this one than I did with Escafone.
No shit. All right. Here we go. Okay. So now, Brian, when we were chatting, or when you had posted the other day, it sounded like you were going back in for a rewatch. Were you going back in for a rewatch, or are you going back in to finish it?
Yes. Hey, no.
So, all right. So wait. Let me see if I get this right. So you started it. You got bored as fuck. You fell asleep. And then you're like, shit, I got to finish this before we record. So then you just started it over again because you fell asleep. You don't remember where you fell asleep.
No. I started it. You were pretty much there. And I did not lie. I was doing a rewatch, but I missed some shit. So I had to go back to rewatch what I first watched. And then kept on getting up to my point. And I think I kept dozing off. I think I know what my problem is.
All right.
It was like, it wasn't even the good part of copying. It was the human resources aspect of it. It was, there was no character development. It was them trying to solve
a mystery. Yeah.
A mystery that, honestly speaking, it could have been solved so quickly. That's what I'm saying. Hey, the guy you're looking for just jumped off. He's illegal. I mean, it
The thing is that they kind of gave you the answer in
Yeah.
it was weird. It got all to me. I was like, first it's cops, now it's getting preachy, and I don't know what's going on here. But then
Yeah.
when they did like the babble
Yeah.
piece and like the horn, and when someone says that you're blowing your own horn, it means that you're touting your magnificence and your arrogance and blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah blah. So I was like, well, sound. Boom. There you go. Babble. Oh, I just finished it in like 5 seconds. Why didn't you? Well, all you really had to do is pick up and go,
like
what verse is that
dude,
in the Bible? Oh, there it is.
like how preachy can you be? And honestly speaking, it's summed up in the first part of it, right? They give you the whole exposition in the first part, right?
Mhm.
Just for the pilot to say, "Hey, what do you think about that?" And he turned around.
No, we can't. Brian. No. Okay, listen. We got to stop because I got to talk about this moment because that motherfucker, the pilot. I was like, is he a taxi driver? Is he a tour guide? This guy knows fucking everything about what's going on. And he is info dumping to our two main characters. And the whole time I'm wondering what his deal is. Is he NSA or some shit? Like he
Right.
knows everything that's going on. And he's giving you a whole breakdown. And look, I've ridden in my fair share of cabs, and they're usually pretty chatty and know what's going on. But like, this guy really knew what was going on.
Right,
Like,
really
dialed in. I was very impressed.
They got into the wrong. Basically, what happened is they got into the wrong car. He was actually driving to work in the secret FBI building in Japan, and he just decided to give him a ride anyways.
I don't even think they knew where they were supposed to be because he turned
Look.
around to look at them like, y'all know what's up? And they were just deer in the headlights.
No, they were knocked out. How are you? I mean, that is the response to exposition right there. And that lets you know nothing you just fucking said means anything if the two people who are supposed to be the main fucking characters, you turn around and they're like,
The technical design was definitely on point. It
Oh,
reminded me
oh,
of
yeah.
Masamune Shiro, like that level of like granular design, kind of like the intro to like Maddox 1, where they were showing like all the mechanized parts and stuff. Like, all that shit, I was like, damn, this looks great. And it just escalates really fast. And they just light that fucking tank up. And it's really
Yes.
well shot. It's really cool. And if that would have been, and it's unfortunate because that sets the expectation for what the rest of the anime you think it's going to be. And then it literally has almost nothing to do with the rest.
I seriously thought, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a war battle. And then all of a sudden, they're talking, they're doing laundry, they're gardening. And I was like,
Tomatoes took front. Tomatoes
they spent
became
10
front and
minutes
center.
talking about tomatoes. Probably not that
Tomatoes.
long, but it felt like 10 minutes talking about tomatoes.
Oh, man. So you find out through this info dump that the labors are mech suits that are used for things like construction, policing, et cetera, et cetera. And then these two people riding in the back are second unit officers, Noah and Asuma. They arrive at the Ark, and I'm not really sure. I think it might have been me still glossed over from the info dump, but I think they were there to retrieve their other officer, Nagumo, from duty. Or relieve. I don't know. But it took two of them to fly out there to get her, take her to command. And that's what I got out of that.
So, and mind you, command is in a completely different place than where Ark is.
And this
Yes.
is an advanced civilization. So they have comms. They apparently just calling her and telling her, climb out of the test thing and come over because we got to debrief you. That would have been too complicated. So they sent two people to go do it.
We sent two people to go get it, didn't take her to leave. So basically, that whole first 10 minutes doesn't even matter.
Oh.
Facts.
She never goes anywhere.
Yeah, all it does is introduce you to the concept of the Ark and introduce you to the Type 0 labor, that is still a prototype and still being tested and just kind of standing there looking like Tekkaman Blade,
Very much so.
right?
Okay. I was trying to figure out where that was from. I was like, I think they stole that from something. I was expecting a little C in a circle somewhere on the
Like redacted copyright strike. So Nagamo is debriefed by her commander and that there is an unmanned labor that has escaped and is running this new HOS system. There's a lot of tech talk about operating systems and how the logic works and whatnot. This is the same OS that they put into this new Type 0 unit. So a labor goes haywire and they deploy the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department's 2nd SVS unit to intervene.
Which brings me to my next point.
Go for it.
I really can admit that they did a great job in the animation in this.
They did. I wholeheartedly agree.
To the point where I would say at 15 minutes and 4 seconds, when there's complete bedlam around and everybody's supposed to be running. First of all, they show an old guy with his wife on his back and they're running.
Yeah.
Right? So if the old guy with his wife on his back is running, you know shit has gone wrong, right? Only for 15 minutes and 4 seconds for people to be trying to carry and move a cabinet.
That's very precious to them. I don't know what to tell you, man. You know what? You were here for a hurricane or two. You've seen people care about the dumbest shit when they're trying to get away. It's like you don't understand. I need this chair.
Look, but these are the people that gave us Kaiju and Godzilla. When you see fucking Godzilla, you drop shit and you run.
There's no women and children first. It's every man for himself.
So this whole sequence is really cool. This mechanized labor is wreaking havoc on the city, knocking buildings over. Officer Eugene Tackleberry, he gears up and he goes out there with his Patlabor, and he's thank you, sir. And he just goes. He tries to subdue this machine while the pilot is trapped inside, losing his shit.
Yes, and what is the name of this? What model construction labor is this one that is used to do some of the most beautiful civil engineering? What did they name this model?
What did they name this model?
The Tyrant.
Because
construction labor.
Because this was clearly designed by Elon Musk, and he likes things to be named cool. So he doesn't think about the names; he just names them. Nevertheless, Tackleberry here, he uses his freeze ray to stop the unit. Never used again. Don't know why. That might have been useful later in the film, I must say. But there's some gorgeously animated action destruction. The water in this scene when they drop into the river, I was like, God damn, this is really good stuff.
They tear apart the robot and the wires are just. I was like, oh.
Yeah, they brought it. That's where all their budget went because it didn't go to the writing. Command suspects foul play, and it turns out that that it was the guy that took a dive was the developer of this HOS system. I know I'm being redundant because it stands for hyper operating system, and it just said HOS system. But I digress.
But look, even then, with that being said, he is apparently in a hierarchy of suspicion.
Yeah.
He's not even the first person they suspect because why? Asuma is the son of the CEO.
He's basically Steve Jobs' kid. Or I'm sorry, Elon's kid, because we established Elon's the idiot that names these things. So he's
Elon's kid who doesn't like Elon and says,
he decides to become a cop. Yeah. So
we're doing great. I'm loving the parallels.
So good. Asuma is instructed to conduct an investigation under the radar. Because Asuma's dad runs the company, he knows that he'll be able to gain access to the company. So him and his mechanic buddy decide to go over to the company. And the mechanic buddy, he's lamenting to one of the maintenance techs there and fishing for information about the operating system. And the guy gets real pissed off real fast.
I didn't think he was fishing. I thought he basically called him out.
You're right. He did. You know what? It's not fishing. That was fishing with dynamite.
Yeah,
Right?
he basically went. I know something's funky. Just tell me what it is. Nobody will get hurt if you tell me something. If you don't. I could have swore he should have just walked in with a billy club and been like, "All right,
This is going like an old Irish cop. All right,
I'm-
O'Malley, we're gonna have a conversation. Billion, good.
I'm being very subtle here."
And now that the guy was willing to give him everything because they actually had conversation about how they're old and they're either being made.
They like it the old way.
The new
They're
engineers are running
obsolete.
laps around me. That's a good point. I feel the same way. By the way,
So, about that,
y'all fucking up. Y'all
So-
fucking up.
while they're doing that, the son, Asuma, is apparently gained access to a mainframe computer somewhere in the facility, and they just happen to leave the master disk for this operating system in a drawer right there on his desk.
Super easy.
Barely an inconvenience.
Well, that's also because the office there are only 2 people who can access that office.
That's right.
So it's not really him and his dad are the only 2 people who can access that office. So there's really no reason to not put the main disc in there because you got a 50-50 shot as to who decided to mess
Who
around.
did it?
It's like, who
You're
ran
not
it?
wrong. He
No.
runs it and screws up something, and then all of a sudden,
it seems like he does a very, very bad thing.
it's very bad. And suddenly,
I'm catastrophic,
mess-
if you will.
I would suggest as much. This
As evidenced by the word babble going around his rounded
Just
face. And that
fucking-
was beautiful, by the way.
it was.
Look,
it was
I've
very
had that look on my face whenever my wife has asked me to do something, and I'm like, babble. I've had that look on my face. I was like, oh, that's an awesome animation right there.
So yeah, the disc quotes the Bible's Tower Babel
fuck.
story, and then goes ape shit. And then there's like apparently 8,000 laborers at risk of going rogue because of this wonderful thing. At this point, these 2 randos, they're like wandering around the slums investigating some shit that they don't decide to tell us right away. A lot of empty bird cages. I don't know if this
But a lot of
is there-
beautiful looking cityscapes.
Well, how did y'all? What narcotic did y'all use? Stay engaged with that shit.
I was.
Well, I wasn't.
I wasn't.
So-
I wasn't.
So for me, it was actually quite easy.
Yeah.
I sat there and it's like, that, the styling is it's like, oh crap, it's what's his face? The guy who directed Ghost in the Shell, Mamoru Oshii. It's like the same style of just, you need to kill 30 seconds, random beautiful scenery.
Yeah, I think I'm with Vic in that, in the sense of like when I couldn't follow the story, I would just dial out and start looking in animation. Like I would just it pulled me out of the story, so I would pay attention to the art rather than being caring about the story. That's how I ended.
I feel like they were trying to make something deeper, but
Yeah.
they just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah, it feels like that because they were leaning into a lot of that, like them trying to investigate, finding the Babylonian like scripture hidden behind the calendar, and shit, which it's like they were trying to make a mystery. This wasn't Seven, this wasn't like Usual Suspects. There was no deeper.
Actually, had a different one.
Yeah.
It was Dan Brown Inferno.
All right, so there you go.
But
Probably
basically-
closer,
Huh?
a closer reference. So well done.
Right. It starts off
Yeah.
basically the same way. Guy goes
Yeah.
to the top of a building, jumps off,
Yeah.
and we are now trying to piece it together the reason why he killed
piece
himself.
it together. Yeah. So it's the only thing is like I was like, I noticed a lot of bird cages, and I'm like, what is this bullshit? Is this like canaries in the coal mine? Like, what was the deal there? I thought it was going to be a plot point. It kind of was, but kind of also wasn't. Anyway, they investigate the 26 locations that they found him dead in, and then they report back to the chief. So basically, this chief is a chess player or some shit, and he's got like 4 different balls in the air about this investigation.
From 4 different angles.
Yeah, he's manipulating the hell out of his team. He's
Making them work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the part that got me. I was like, does he even know what's going on? No, I
Like,
don't
you
think he
could- you-
does.
you could very easily have saved a ton of time by bringing all these people into the same room, share information. Nevertheless, we find out Asuma takes Noah on a date because you find out
No.
he suspects Noah
Asa-
was eavesdropping from the
It
fancy
wasn't a
tomato
date.
thing.
It was interrogation, and he
It's
sucks at it.
100% what it was. And you find out that her Patlabor is called Alphonse the Third, named after her dog, which I was like, well, that's fun.
And cat.
And it would be great if that were like any endearing to her as a person. But like by the end of the anime, yeah, she does some cool shit, but this is it. These are your two Noah moments. Is this telling you about her dog? And then it's the fight at the end. And those are her only two moments that you get with this character really at all. Nevertheless, she's extremely emotionally attached to her labor. Her Patlabor? Patlabor. We should call it a Patlabor, right? Anyway.
Labor?
Yeah.
Or Plaber.
Plaber, there you go. So he gets a clue from his conversation with her that sound could be cueing the HOS trigger. It leads him down a rabbit hole. He visits the engineer guy from before, Uncle Jitsuyama, and confronts him about the sound trigger. Gets a confession out of him, then gets bitched out for getting confession out of him, gets suspended for various small charges, like just a slew of little things. And I'm like, it's interesting.
And how did he get in trouble?
Because his own commander ratted him out, which was like, why? What? And he got him suspended so that he could continue his investigation while suspended. Like, this is just everything wrong with policing. So this movie is everything wrong with policing. It's every bad policing cliche from Hollywood.
No, the thing about it is, this is not really policing. This is just that I don't even want to call it policing. I just think that this is definitely not Law and Order, as Dick Wolf did not write any of this shit.
No, without a doubt.
But the breadcrumbs that he was throwing whole loads of bread out. It wasn't even. This could mean something. It's such a silly way he came to the conclusion of the sound.
Yeah, there was, without a doubt.
Basically, somebody could have been walking around with a recorder like, and they would have like, that gets me thinking. Motherfucker, you couldn't have thought about that.
It would have been just as effective. Yeah. I did write a note that the wide angle lens shot is hilarious when he's bitching out the commander. That had me roll because that was really well done. And he's just like, "Gets off scot-free," or like it was. That shit was funny. I liked that a lot.
And when the commander found out that the reason why he was bitching him out, because after all the hard work that not just him but everybody else did, give him the information about his parents' company, about his dad's company.
Yeah.
What was going to be the
resolution? Oh, the resolution's great. Basically, they release a statement and they go, "Hey, we're going to give you a free upgrade that rolls back your OS so we can, work out some kinks, but everything's going to be great. Thanks for that. And, no charge to you for this service. Just send in basically a recall." It was basically like an OS recall that they were.
The part that got me was they said it was free of charge. I'm like, dude, it's a bug. It should be free. I was like, oh my God. I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
So they do it. So of course the son's furious because he's like, I did all this investigation and this corporation is going to get up scot-free. So then it's what happens in every police-based show or movie. The cop gets suspended, goes rogue, and decides to continue his investigation with, of course, the chief knowing that he's going to continue his investigation because he set that up because he wanted him suspended and investigating because that's how policing works.
A couple of things. First of all, his dad's company kind of is innocent in all this.
Kinda, yeah.
They didn't know. It's not like they knew about it.
Kinda, because you know what this is.
Still liable.
This is what happens when you let people push branches to your Git without like checking them.
Checking it.
Nobody checked this push before it like got merged in to the Git. Like that was just somebody was not
But-
doing good project management.
Well, like that firewall upgrade a few months ago that pretty much took down almost everyone.
Right. Yeah. This is like, yeah. So yeah, they're
So
not.
the difference is
Someone
the
didn't do
difference
their job and check the work, and
there's liable
Uh-huh.
versus guilty,
Okay.
right? Meaning that if a mistake happens, it's not like
Yeah.
you're trying to destroy the world, right?
Right.
So we overlooked this part. That's liable.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who's guilty actually committed suicide.
Yeah. Sure. He did.
So if anything, you should have been working. If he was gave a damn about anything, it should have been about clearing the good people of the company, as opposed to so everybody they have to suffer. It's not really sane.
I understand. I totally understand. And if that were the only thing that this anime did, then I would be 100% with you. But they take this to 11. So
oh yes. Oh my
they
god.
take this to the higher ups, and they have this big to do, and
The
basically
higher up, hold on. The higher up of the company or the higher up of the police department, meaning the government.
Both.
the government. They go to the
They take it
government,
to the
and yeah,
government.
This is the Now this is the. Oh, actually, yes. Please continue.
they take this shit to the government, and the government is like, well, we'll shut down all the laborers. First of all, they're like, this is horseshit. Like, what the hell? You brought us nothing. You've brought us absolutely no evidence whatsoever. And they're like, look,
and
motherfuckers.
try to shit on the guy who did the investigating.
Yeah. And it's because he was on suspension, which accurate. So anyway, this typhoon's gonna hit. They're like, listen, we ain't got time to prove him wrong. Or we got to take action, or we risk, like a big thing. So they're like, all right, we'll
Pretty
shut
much.
down all laborers for the next 48 hours. And because it's the typhoon anyway, no big deal. And I don't know how they did this in full view of everybody in the room, but Goto, the commander, like stares at the chief and he's like, so anything that happens is really just kind of the typhoon's fault. And he's like, yeah. And the motherfuckers from the company are right next to him when he says, like, in full view. And they're like, cool, see you later. And then basically that gives the police force a clearance to commit domestic terrorism. And they choose to do domestic terrorism.
Yes,
It's-
and they're very calm about it. If we solve the problem, we're heroes. But if we make it worse, then that's when we're in trouble. But don't worry, we won't make it worse.
If we don't make it worse, if we do nothing, they're still going to blame us.
Right.
My
This
head
is
hurt
policing.
right when they
So-
did that. I was like, "Oh my god."
Because if that's the case, right? You're basically saying it's like you're trying to blackmail me to do something.
There's no world where these guys do not go to jail. I don't care that they were cops. They did domestic terrorism. They went to a private facility and they knowingly and
Destroyed it.
willingly blew it the fuck up. Destroyed it. They geared up like the goddamn military with their giant tank revolver that their mechs hold, which somebody explained to me why you would want to have a mech that can be disarmed. Why wouldn't you mount that to the robot in some capacity rather than having it be a thing that they can
Drop.
lose?
Yeah.
And I mean, they're not the only mech that does it because there's a rule of cool. And I gotta admit, it's kind of cool that they got these giant, like 50 cal shell, like handgun things. It's cool. It's cool. Is it practical? Not even a little bit. And if the anime were like more interesting and I was like more into it, I might have been more forgiving of that fact. But it wasn't. So of course I'm nitpicking. Nevertheless,
Nitpicking or all the most important stuff happen outside of the labor.
yes, that's absolutely. So they're
So you're
the
taking
the
away the
laboring-
whole purpose of the name of the show.
the laboring in this is very minimal.
There's plenty of labor. It's just not in the mech.
So they they storm the Ark and bring with them all their militarized police vehicles.
And waste most of their ammo on the 10 robots that showed up instead of the 100
That's
that
right.
show up later.
Yeah, Tackleberry's a little trigger happy, and he's just like
And-
unloading.
and
And
they
everybody's
said,
like, "Bro,
"Please."
calm down."
They told him, please.
Yes.
Yo,
Yeah.
seriously, calm down. We don't know what else is
Chill.
coming. No, please, bro, please. They told him multiple times. He did not
Yeah.
give a fuck.
There's this typhoon is coming, and the typhoon's gonna like blow wind through the Ark building, which is gonna make a whistly sound, which is gonna wake up 8,000 robots and cause havoc all over the city. This is the master plan of the man who pet a raven and committed suicide at the beginning of this film.
Yes.
This was it. There was no other way for him to hide the code at all. So he made a whistle be the thing that triggered. Anyway, I digress. They start like dropping panels to try and reduce the wind friction and resonance that would happen from the wind speed. It doesn't help because laborers all wake up inside the Ark and they start attacking our hero's sidekick character, Noah. She gets sent to the top of Mount Doom.
The Ark.
Because up there
He's
is the-
Frodo. She's
Sauron.
Frodo.
Sauron's up there apparently, and she's
Yep.
got to go up there. So she gets her ass up there, and he's not there. There's just a shit ton of birds, like a whole fucking Miami Metro Zoo aviary's worth of birds, with no explanation to this.
Oh.
Just none. The raven's there, the one from the beginning, and he's got his little tag on him, which is why they all thought the bad guy Jehovah was up there, but he wasn't, because it was a bird. And apparently nobody decided to try and track that tracker to find the body when he jumped off of the building, which is what you would have done if you knew he had some way of tracking him. And then they would have found the bird like days ago, but they didn't do that because he dove in. So they just never recovered the body. So they didn't use the tracker to recover the body because that would have made sense. Anyway, so
Like nano tracker, that's not a thing. We don't want to. I mean,
I just
Yeah,
anyway.
I gotta hold on before I gotta go back. One
Yeah,
of the
go ahead.
coolest animated things they did on there was, I think she was on the phone. She was playing with the cord on her foot
Yeah.
and it kept getting caught.
I
I'm
love
like,
that shit so
I'm like,
much.
if that's not fucking real life right there.
Yeah. I love
Well,
that shit so much. I love that. I did forget to mention that Commander Goto calls in a girl badass for backup. She's relevant,
what?
I'm sure, but she wasn't in this. She showed up to hop in the Zero and then get caught in the Zero.
And they get knocked out.
You know who that could have been? That could have been that Nagumo chick from the beginning of the anime, instead of a completely different chick that I didn't know who she was. But you know why they did that? Because she's in the TV series and they had to bring her in. Otherwise they wouldn't have shown that character and they had to use her somehow.
And Customs was totally okay that she said she was here for combat.
Shit was great. Like, what are you doing? I can't even.
I was like, and you're not arrested? Oh, wait. No, no, no.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the
Unskin
like that's the stereotypical. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
So she shows up. Ota Tackleberry, he's kicking ass, but he's outnumbered. So Kanuka is her name, this character. She shows up in the Zero and she lends him a hand. But nope, she's also taken over, so she goes ape shit and starts like fucking everything up too.
And the most advanced robot that they have also got taken over.
It sure did.
Was on the wrong lap.
Noah and her Alfonsia running Vista. You know, like you can't just be running Vista like that's anyway. Noah and Alfonso III, they survived the stinking arc because Noah happens to be up in the tower and uses a gun to blow a hole in the top of the tower, which then gives them the ability to win. Noah survives this sinking arc and is forced to engage with Zero. Everything's collapsed. The Zero emerges from the rubble. Noah and Alfonso
With
III
one arm.
with one arm, engage with Zero with one arm, right? And there's this like sunrise moment where the two mech are facing off, and it's gorgeous. And the fight that ensues is gorgeous,
Beautiful.
without a doubt.
Until
Noah goes John
Like-
McClane, and she like scales a wire and just like shotguns the thing to death.
Well, first, can we talk about the lack of faith that her own people had in her?
Of course we
They
can.
tell her to
yes.
go fight it, and then all of a sudden they say, "Don't! You're gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah,
Don't do
like
it.
just don't
Don't
do
it.
that.
Just
yeah.
let the world end. It's fine. You're not capable." like
You're a trained police officer and mecha pilot, but you are not ready for this.
you are not ready. You are incapable. Just give it up. you
Not to
know?
mention the fact that, seriously, once they took down the tower, they took
tower.
down the
Yeah.
arc.
Right.
The damage is done. It's not like
what?
you know what I'm saying.
We successfully did a terrorism, and there's just the one mech that's going
Right,
crazy, and it's
but you
it's
guys
stuck on
have
an island.
already, you guys have already shown what you could do to one mech against everybody else. Drop motherfuckers out the damn parachute, let them land, and blow it to hell. It has one arm.
No.
What can I tell you, man? She does the deed.
He does the deed, and here we go. Noah's lined it up for her final dismount, and go. We continue. I'm a like.
Her uniform. I don't see any marks or mars.
No, she was very no.
It was
there's-
impeccable. She did a very
Yeah.
good job
it's
keeping
not-
that.
Yeah, all good.
Her
Anyway,
hair
she
was in
takes-
place.
She takes this thing out. The helicopter guy shows up again with everybody, and that's it. Cut. Fade to black.
Yes, that's it. Fade it back. That's it. That's it.
No
I
epilogue.
hate that.
Brian
know I hate
loves
this.
when anime just end. He's a big fan of when anime just end. With
No,
no
no
epilogue.
proof that it's actually done. That they actually solved the problem.
There's no
They just-
hearings. There's no trial. There's no exoneration for the police force. There's nothing. Nothing. It just
So
That's
they end
It's over.
being domestic terrorists,
they end being domestic
and
terrorists.
they're supposed to be okay with it.
That's it. They're the police force. So it's okay because they're the police force and they have mechs. So it's okay if the police do it. If anybody else would have did it, jail time.
Or shot.
Or shot, for sure. Absolutely shot. The shot part goes without saying. Yeah. So there you go. That's Patlabor the movie. Let's do a little thought exercise before we start wrapping up because we got a minute here. Positives versus negatives.
It is animated beautifully.
All right.
Even like there are certain scenes where I'm actually looking at the little details they put in there, and
Yeah.
I'm actually found myself looking to see exactly if I could ascertain what it's just little squiggles, and like it's not even
Mhm.
like characters like kanji character. No, these are just little squiggles. Like the lady, when back to the whole investigation.
Yeah.
And they're going back into the slums and look at the one lady. She has a fan and she's just fanning herself with it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the light from the window where the other two guys are on. Then she's sitting down and it's like it's a hot summer. So she has a fan and she's just fanning herself with the light of the TV.
Yeah.
The illumination is brilliant.
Yeah.
It could have just taken it the next step if actually put some shit on there. I would have looked at it. You know, they went so far as when they're walking through the canal.
Yeah.
They step on a Coca-Cola can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's the little things.
without a doubt. It's a positive for me in that regard. This was like Ghibli level detail. Like they thought about making
Every
the
little thing.
environments look lived in. They thought about making the mechs look used and they've been existing in this world for a while. Like all of
Mhm.
that is definitely a
Yeah,
positive.
they could have just gone with lifeless backgrounds, still backgrounds, but they didn't.
Like the level of distress in the slums.
Yeah.
It shows you, like, listen, it's bad here. When
Yeah.
they're actually in the canal or they're in like it looked like it's a garbage dump. It's
Yeah.
like no, shit could be worse. You
Yeah,
know?
no, and they did. They had like the heat rays, the heat waves coming off of the junk
See,
piles.
you're right.
Like, yeah, I mean, they really
Mhm.
did dial that in. All right, so that's a positive.
Extremely positive.
I think we've been pretty clear about what the biggest negative is. Writing.
Yeah.
And the problem is they give a damn, and they show when they give a damn, and they show when they don't give a damn. Right?
Oh yeah. There was no blending. There was no meh in there. If they didn't really care about something, whether it's the storyline or the plot or the direction of their character, it was just like they shoved someone in to tell a story and then they cut over to whatever. Like the scene with the chief and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're telling the story about, him being off. This is why I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically it was like they didn't want to build on whatever it is they were building. So they just shoved this guy in here, shoved a little hint at possible nudity by her getting undressed, and then just went,
Oh,
okay.
you fucking tease.
Right?
How dare
Right.
you?
That's what they did. And then they went, okay, yeah, I just told the story here. And I was like, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was... Burn Up W did it better.
I love that you used another example of militarized police force to discuss this.
Oh, I meant to do that.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I was
I was
no
right
notes.
on.
You called it. It was excellent. So look, yeah, it was there was definitely some rough there. Now, knowing you gotta remember that in 1995 this would have came out, and had we have seen this, Vic saw it, but had the rest of us had seen it, we would have been just as confused, because as it is, the series that sets these characters up doesn't come out for 2.5 more years for us. So having seen this, do you think you would have wanted to watch more of this? Was this enough of a cool factor for you in any way where after finishing this, you just said, man, that was cool. I want to spend more time in this world. Let me see what other Patlabor shit I can find.
Oh.
Okay. I'm getting a no out of Brian.
Look, I was only able to understand it now as an adult who has lived through government service, who has lived through, saying,
Yeah,
had a job. You know what I'm saying? I've had a career. So when I've been to church. All of the things that was required for me to understand this, I had not experienced yet. And if anything, I would have been like, man, fuck this. Give me bring back the tentacle porn. And I'm a teenage boy. Bring me back to Devil Hunter Yoko. Let me see these things. Yeah.
There you go.
Nah. And Vic, you watched it?
He did. He had seen this, yeah.
Sir, why do you not like yourself?
I have to save everything for the final thought.
Well, we're going to start with you.
No. I need to go last for a reason.
Oh, hell.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
Here we go.
Is this another one where they came out with a feature film that only airs in Japan that totally destroys whatever it was that we watched?
No.
Public continuity is non-existent.
You see what you did? You traumatized on that.
We know your game. Know your game, Vic. All right, it's fine. Let's start. I will go first. Knowing what this product is, knowing that I have a severe problem with authority in every capacity, that's why honestly, it's probably why I never joined the military. I just do not like authority. This was hard for me to get into to begin with. So, but I can enjoy shows about police work and things like that. But this was not one of those things. I had a really hard time with it. I had a really hard time enjoying these characters. And I think that maybe if I had seen the series first, maybe I would have had more interest in a movie that kind of expanded on that world. But even in the 90s, I would not have been given that opportunity. This still would have been the first Patlabor I would have ever seen. And I would have been just as disappointed, if not more, just considering the current political climate of the world, probably less disappointed than I'm more disappointed in it now than I probably would have been. But nevertheless, it wasn't mechy enough to get my geek, and it wasn't like horny enough to get my teenage brain into it, and it wasn't funny enough to get like, you know what I mean? Like it just didn't have. I was very bored, and I had a hard time caring about any of it. The animation was really good, and it was really good in such a way that I was able to continue watching it because when I didn't care about the story, I could focus on the art. But it was not good enough in any capacity to overcome the problems I had with it narrative, especially as an adult, and especially in the climate we're in now, where we're just continuing to militarize our police force and give them bigger guns and fucking tanks and just like all this shit. And it's like, and here we are championing these people who are above the law because they're police officers. They get to go and decide to go do domestic terrorism and be the heroes because they were law enforcement. So it's just by the end of it, I was more angry with all of these people than I was anything else. So for me, it's a no. For me, it's a just, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're like really into like, I don't know, gear porn, maybe this might be for you. Like you're just like really into like technical shit. Like this might do it, but there's better shit for you that has that. You can go look at anything from Shiro, and his stuff is like insanely detailed, and you can get more out of it, I think, for me personally, than you do from this. If this was the first Patlabor I'd ever seen, it is the first Patlabor I'd ever seen. I honestly don't think I'm interested in seeing any more Patlabor. And if there's listeners out there who want to tell me that I'm wrong and I should check something out, let me know. I would love to hear that. I would love for someone to write us and be like, listen, guys, this was the worst Patlabor. The other ones are so much better. Go watch those. I would love to hear that. I would love for that to be the case, because if this is the best Patlabor, then I'm really not going to want to watch the rest of this shit. So anyway, that's me. That's my take on it. I say no. Wants to go next, Lynette? You want next?
Sure.
All right.
Here we go.
I'm gonna echo the no. I didn't really like the over militarized, gung ho, go crazy. Even when they were battling the rogue labor. It was really more along the lines of that guy was just crazy, just running through the streets, destroying property, not really caring, just going. And to me, that kind of lack of care for the situation and the city that you're in goes against what I believe that the police should be representing, right? You're living in your community, you're supposed to care for your community. And this is kind of like, yeah, F them, I don't care. I'm just gonna go beat stuff up. And as you said, in this current climate, I don't really want that in my cartoons. And I'm gonna call this a cartoon because I can't really call this an anime. The fact that the animation was really good, but the story behind it turned it into a cartoon. I can't watch this and just go, oh yeah, no, that's make believe. That'll never happen, because potentially somebody could be looking out their window and seeing. If you saw Mecha, you got to give me a call, because we got to see that.
I gotta know that. But it's equivalent of like a SWAT tank. Like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Potentially somebody in the future could be seeing that in real life, and we don't. Animation is meant to spark our imagination, our creativity, our desire to see a better world, see beyond it. Even if you're watching a really bad, sad anime like X or Grave of the Fireflies, you're supposed to be super sad, but know that there's something nice coming at the end. This one is just like, oh yeah, that could happen tomorrow. I really don't want to really watch that. You know what I mean? So to me, that is a no.
Are you saying that this is
best?
Let her finish, man. Come on.
Yeah.
She brought up Grave of the Fireflies. I was
yeah, I would watch Grave of the Fireflies 3 times in a whole weekend before I watch this again.
Sober.
With the candy in the jar. Eating the candy in the can. Yes, sober. I would buy those candies for every time that I watch it, and I'd eat that candy out of that jar while watching Grave of the Fireflies. That's because to me is like, at the end of that movie, you're like, oh God, that was devastating. But you can watch another one and just be like, oh, okay, there's better stuff coming. It's something good's going to happen. This one hits too close to the real life today. And I don't like that. That gives me an icky feeling.
It gave you the ick. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It gave me the ick, and it shouldn't have. I should have had fun with it. It's not like
Mhm.
Dominion Tank Police, which we'll cover at some point. Like that's cartoonishly militarized police. Like it's intended as a comedy, and it delivers in that respect. This is not. They were trying to do like serious like police work shit in this. Like this was
Yeah.
them trying to tell a serious science fiction story. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Brian, you're up next, buddy.
I gotta say, I gotta make a parallel to something. Like, when you deal with like say Marvel, right?
Sure.
Spider-Man is street level,
Yep.
right? And then you have like you start going up in not only what the heroes can do, their power scales, and the threats that they face.
Sure.
These guys are supposed to be street levels, and they're dealing with a fucking corporate espionage on a whole. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And they don't show that this is their specialty.
Yeah.
Throughout this,
Like there was nobody they could have called. That could have been like, "Yo, NSA,
Right.
shit's going down."
right? It felt
Yeah.
like that should have been what was. That should have been the thing that take care of this because their only response was Tackleberry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was their only response. So it's very hard to get behind that when you see that if wanton destruction is going to be your investigation because the higher ups had dismissed everything that all the investigative power that you said. Well, they don't think it's important. Why are you still fucking fighting this thing?
Yeah.
You know, just for you to drop it and say, we're not even going to discuss whether or not you're right in your actions or not. It's just that the goal that you wanted to accomplish was the destruction of this, not just the terminal. Y'all could have just broke the antenna. Did you have to destroy the Death Star?
I do feel like if they had like put an epilogue in here where they were exonerated for their crimes for something or any kind of thing like that, it might have helped. But they didn't. It just ended.
Mhm.
A big problem is that they go through extreme lists to talk about the type of criminal that we are dealing with, right? That the Texas police is supposed to be dealing with, right? You're thinking like mafia bosses and stuff like that. I'm thinking about like extortion or stuff like that. Not a fucking mastermind.
Based on what we know, this team's sole responsibility is dealing with rogue laborers.
Mhm.
As far as we know, that's their only job.
But they make it seem that the rogue laborers may have a pilot in them.
Sometimes they have
Right.
they usually would have a pilot in them. This was apparently unique in that they didn't all have pilots in them.
Yes. But this is essentially this universe's version of 80 Police.
Yeah, there you go. That's another good one. Yeah,
Okay.
So they're SWAT. That's what this is. These guys are SWAT.
They're more twats, but you know. There was nothing. It was so meh across the board in all of their efforts. So I got more days behind me than ahead of me. I want to save this shit. Whatever I want to watch needs to be something that's makes it worth it. It ain't it. So no, I'm not watching Patlabor 2. And the thing about it is, this one was my idea. If this motherfucker comes over,
Hey man, let him do his job. All right, Vic.
hey, I'm warning you. I'm warning you, Vic. I'm warning you, bro.
First, we screwed up, and it's the exact same mistake in the release that, we got the movie before the series. Because while the movies are supposed to be serious, right? The series had comedy elements as well as, the backstory and everything else. We screwed up because we lost all of that. We got all these characters, brand new, fresh faced, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we had no history, no backstory in the characters. That's
Right.
one big issue.
For sure.
Okay. The second thing is, mid to late 80s, what kind of movies are popular?
Oh yeah,
Movies
like Lethal Weapon.
Weapon,
Yeah,
Iron
absolutely.
Eagle, where,
Yeah.
the good guys break all the rules and laws and God knows whatever
Yeah.
else to get the stuff done so that it's,
Absolutely.
this movie is essentially Lethal Weapon with Max.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly the vibe I had with this. Exactly the vibe I had with this.
The only issue is that this was missing the comedy portion from the TV series.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that hurt it more. And I was just checking IMDb, and it's like all three movies are lacking the comedy tag where almost all the series have it.
I noticed that.
So so I feel like we're missing a lot. It's like, I know I watched one of the original series. I don't remember if it's the early years or the one right after it.
Right.
But I remember a lot of the interactions that Izumi had with Alphonse, her mech.
Mhm.
Right? And some of them were done like, she babied the thing.
Okay, so kind of
Right.
like the Tank Police, where she like yeah.
So yeah, the TV series is probably leading, the comedy element is probably leaning more towards Tank Police than what the movies were. And I feel like that's taking a lot away from our view on, or you guys' view on it, because I enjoyed
For
it.
sure.
But
Yeah.
I remembered a lot of the backstory and a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
So, but it's been 20 plus years since I've watched it, so I'm not, it's not hyper fresh in memory.
So hold on. So maybe when you look at the like we're looking at it and have the little synopsis of it, right? The thing about it is it says screwball unit, right?
Yes.
Right.
So
That
there's
screwball part we didn't get in the movie.
We
we
really
didn't get it. So it's supposed to be. Let's go instead of Lethal Weapon. It's
It's
more
supposed to be
like
Naked Gun.
Police Academy.
I was gonna
Or,
say
yeah.
Police Academy with Max like that.
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed a Police Academy with Max. This went a little too Lethal Weapon for me. So Vic, my question and then is do you, since you did enjoy it, is this one of those things where it's like you recommend it asterisk, you really need to watch the series before you watch this version?
You need to at least watch the early years or the first
Mhm.
series before even remotely attempting.
That's fair.
But you also have to be a fan of, again, like the Lethal Weapons, the Police
Mhm.
Academies, that kind of movie.
Sure. And I think like if this would have had more of that in it, if this would have had more of that comedic tone, I
Correct.
probably would have been fine with it
Mhm.
because I love like the Police Academy movies. They're so stupid, and I enjoy the hell out of them. They're absurd. I enjoy Tank Police because it's absurd. Like it's
Mhm.
comedically at on a different level. This took
Yeah, I
itself
don't-
so seriously.
Yeah, this, like I said, I don't recall the series being as hilarious as like Tank Police or anything,
Right.
but it had elements of comedy in it, which, excuse me, the three movies absolutely do not really. I
That's a
think the
shame.
only real element of comedy is when, they were yelling at each other and you had the weird wide angle lens
Yeah.
thing going. That was the
Right.
extent of the comedy in this movie.
But it felt like somebody didn't even listen to their own format.
But again, I can also blame, how the release order in the US, because we got the movie first, then the series. People would have gotten the exact same opinion back then. It's like, what is this? We don't know
Yeah.
anything about this. And it's like, oh, there was a series released 2 years earlier. You gotta wait 2 years later to catch that. It's like, I feel like that. I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't take off in the US at all.
That's probably yeah.
It,
That
you
makes
know,
sense.
honestly speaking, we have seen, but like for instance, Ramna. We were just talking about Ramna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're watching that, and we talk about how Ramna does a great job of, like, even when they're introducing the characters, they bring them in that whole mass chaos scene at the beginning of Big Trouble, right? They do a great job of sticking to it.
They set your expectations early on.
Right.
Like this
This
is
is
the
not
kind of
what's-
thing you're gonna be.
This is we're going to take ourselves serious now, and there's
It
no
starts
warning.
with a
of it.
suicide.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whereas Ramna was just comedic action the whole way, that's usually enough to get people interested.
Right.
To see a serious take of this series, it's without knowing, the actual backstory, it hurt it more than anything.
If tonally it's a completely different thing, and in its required viewing, which after watching this, I feel like it was required viewing.
Yeah, I think
but
it
we
is.
still would have been we still would have been pissed.
I think we still would have been a little disappointed, but we probably would have been more into it because we had already fallen in love
Yeah.
with these
We
characters.
would have been pissed because the movie didn't, it didn't have the same feel as the series.
Right.
We would have
As
forgiven
opposed
it.
to,
We probably
Yeah.
would have. Yeah, we
We would
probably
have
would have.
forgiven it.
so, but
Yeah.
again, this is the same mistake that they did with releasing it.
It is
they released
unfortunate.
the movie first.
And I had a feeling when we were researching this that was the problem. I'm like, this feels like they released this not in order, and I seem to remember it. And I had to scour the goddamn internet to find that. But yeah, it took. In
So,
'95
it's
was
not
the
our
movie.
fault.
98 was the series. Like it took that long to get the series.
Look, it's not our fault. It's them. They're the one that did this.
Oh, without a doubt, they set it up
for
to
the
fail.
U.S. release, absolutely.
Yeah, they set it up to fail without a doubt. What happened is Manga Core was like, we need mecha anime, we need action anime. This is mecha and action, and we can license it. And it's one disc, one tape we got to release. Like that's a win. We're gonna sign that, and they did it. And it's probably it's probably handled by a different fucking company because it's the same thing that happened with Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the TV series. Tatsunoko handled international distribution of the TV series. The movie Toho handled international distribution of them. So two separate companies probably animated these things and sold their licenses at different times, and we just got fucked,
Pretty much.
which sucks.
All right.
It's too
So-
bad. I wanted to like this. I love
Mhm.
mecha anime. I fucking love mecha anime. I think it's so cool. It's so fantastical. It's so escapism. I love this shit. And to watch this and be bored, I was just like, damn. Like, yeah, you got to be pretty bad to fuck up a mecha anime.
Yeah, it's just you had zero attachment to characters that already had
Yeah.
established backstory.
It's fair. I understand. So, final on this is you would recommend this asterisk TV show first.
TV series first.
Okay.
Or the OAVs first.
Right. The OAV, the early days.
Okay.
Yeah, the early days first. Then this, or even Telson, the TV series, then this.
That's fair.
Because, I mean, the screenplay was pretty much all the same dude. It was Mamoru
Yeah.
Oshii.
I mean, hey,
So-
that's a good asterisk to have. That's helpful information to our listeners because we did it the way we would have done it in the 90s, and that would have been that's just you shouldn't
Huge
do that.
mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
don't-
I had
don't-
totally forgotten about that little aspect because, like I said, I know I didn't watch 47 episodes of the TV series, but
No, you
I
probably
know I
watched
watched
the OVA.
some, so I think I watched the OAVs, which I'd have to
Yeah.
rip apart my closet to find. I think I have it on DVD.
That sounds about
Of
right.
course you do. Of course you do.
I think. I know I have the third movie on DVD. That one I know for
All
sure.
right. We're gonna wrap up. We're a little long now, so that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for our show today. So until next time, keep calm and remember, studies show that militarizing police is ineffective in decreasing crime and protecting police, and actually may weaken the public's trust in the police, thereby increasing crime rates and unnecessary uses of force.
Oh, that went dark real quick.
You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections, or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.